All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's the 11th of April 2012 is the Money Show, reaching you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Of course, we are back after the long Easter holiday. Joining me right now is Tope Fasua, in-house analyst. We're talking war on corruption. Mr. Fasua, good morning, and thank you for joining me again today. You know, let's take this corruption thing to I want us to bring a new perspective to it. Just like I said a moment ago, my colleague, Gbenga Aruleba, the program before mine, was talking about fighting corruption against all odds. I think he did that also yesterday. It seems that now the media is becoming awash with corruption stories, so to speak, because even if you open your newspapers, you see, there's no day you won't see a story about corruption. Really, this has stolen this, scam all over. But I actually want to ask you, some people have argued that corruption was, or let me say, is an efficient corrective for overregulated economies, or should be tolerated as an inevitable byproduct of intractable forces. What actually do you think? Because when I look at that, I'm like, overregulated economies, does Nigeria actually fall into that?
Well, the proponents of that kind of thinking will actually tell you that, yes, our economy is overregulated, but I think not. I don't also think it's a result of intractable forces. Number one, I would want to make a statement to the effect that I think, you see, what we need these days is a fundamental rethink. And my rhetoric on your show most of the time is about that fundamental rethink that needs to be done in all facets of our national life. Number one, I think it is wrong to say that Nigerians are corrupt. If you go and look at the definition of corruption,
some people would just bring out
Nigerians are not
probably
corrupt.
A machete right now.
Yes, they should if they could. You know, I mean,
Nigerians are not corrupt.
I hope they don't break their TV, but Nigerians are not corrupt. To be corrupt means that to be defective. And Nigerians are not born defective. I always say that. To be
corrupt means, hold on,
yes,
Mr.
go
Fasua.
and check your dictionary. What does it mean to be corrupted?
Corrupt.
To be corrupted means to be rusty, to be defective, to have a problem innately. You see, it's only an adaptation to the financial world to say, okay, financially, do you steal money or not? But to be corrupt innately means that you have a problem in your creation. And that's what it means, really, in terms of your creation or how you have evolved. So I would say that Nigerians are not. Nigerians are not. Yes, you see, let me tell you what. I think my role here is to take it to an intellectual level, to intellectualize the problem. Because what I've seen mostly is a peripheral way of addressing the issue, to address the symptoms only. I mean, people will say, "Oh, match them to the gallows," or you know, shoot all government officials and so on and so forth. But it's a little bit deeper than we think. So I would say that, number one, I would tell you that Nigerians are not corrupt. Yes, stupid we may be. At times, some of us are really foolish to steal monies that will make their own environment become hell. Some are even more foolish to take that money and send abroad to develop other people's economy. And then, of course, some of the problems we have had has resulted in some psychological problems for some people. For example, someone steals 2 billion naira and keeps in his room or in his flat. I mean, in one of the probes that we've heard of recent, now that is not corruption, that is a mental case. So if we need to address things the way they are properly, because you see, number one, the problem you have when you say, oh, Nigerians are corrupt is to, you know, in a cavalier manner, it's a way of dismissing and belittling the problem that we have. An average class of 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11, 12-year-old in Nigeria is less tainted with the things that are evil in this world than an average class in Europe, for example. We are less exposed. An average class of 5, 9, 10-year-old in this country is less exposed to TV and the other things that corrupt the world, quote and unquote, than anywhere else in the world. So at what point does that change occur that you now label Nigerians as being corrupt?
You know what, let me halt you on this and take you up on what you said, that Nigerians are not corrupt. You actually told me to go look into the dictionary and tell you what the meaning of corrupt is. Now, of course, corrupt is an adjective, and it says guilty of dishonest practices as bribery, lacking integrity, crooked, as an example, a corrupt judge. It could also mean debased in character.
Debased in character. Exactly. Now, you don't call me debased in character, wicked, perverted. See, if you want to say a few Nigerians are corrupt, then let it be so. If you want to say a section of Nigerians are corrupt, wicked, debased, come on. You know, now for someone to point to me and tell me I'm debased and wicked, then that's a problem. I'm saying to you that we should not accept the toga, because then it becomes a lodestone around our necks. And then we go around the world and we say that Nigerians are corrupt. I say to you that what we are is not that we're not made to be deficient by nature. We're not. The problem we have is we've got to look at a historical perspective, a cultural perspective, a psychological perspective, and ask, how did we get to where we are? See, I have a book here with me called It's Our Turn to Eat. It's Our Turn to Eat by Michel Arong. And it's about the case of the one guy called John Gitongo, who was the head of their own EFCC at some point, and who had problems with the system and had to run away. The problems they have in Kenya is the same problems we have here. It's about tribe. It's about how to manage post-colonialism. And that's a problem we have here. She mentioned here how many people in Kenya and in Africa, if you are a big man or you have a good job, you are surviving 50 to 20 to 50 people, and which doesn't happen in Europe. So on one hand, we see what we have here, to me, to a large extent, is a certain intellectual laziness. I think that what we lack in Nigeria and most of, I don't like to use the word black Africa, but most of sub-Saharan Africa, we don't have thinkers who can say that given all the problems and the peculiarities that we inherited, this is how we need to progress into the future.
Will it be okay to say that some Nigerians are corrupt?
Well, some Nigerians may have become corrupt over time. See, when you say Nigerians are bad, for example, say Nigerians are useless, for example. Let me use a word that angers you the most. Nigerians are useless. Fine. And then Nigerians go around thinking they're useless. They will continue to be useless. Now, when you say some Nigerians may be useless, just like some Britons could be useless, or just like some Americans could be useless, that's perfect. Then let it be some. But when you say Nigerians are corrupt, there's a problem there. And I'm saying that, you see, where are our intellectuals, where are our professors? No, but that's what we have said, you know.
So we're saying that we don't have a leadership has actually
we don't necessarily, let me tell you, of course, leadership is one of the...
mantle of power.
Yeah, leadership is... No, wait. See, okay, I mean, I listened to Mr. Benga's interview earlier on, and a gentleman was there, and the focus was on government-based corruption. We didn't talk about the malfeasance that goes on in the private sector as well, you know. But if we look at, we have to look at both sides, and we know that. And essentially speaking, what the problem we are having is partly historical. If we don't know, for example, you know, I always will tell you, okay, if you don't know where you're going to, okay, you can as well take any route. If you don't know where something is coming from, or where you're coming from, you cannot know where you're going. So in the same vein, if we don't know where corruption is coming from, we cannot tell where corruption is going. The figures you have seen of recent, where we're kind of in an overdrive of corruption now. This year we started with the, what's it called now? Oil subsidy thing. Okay, then for 1.3 trillion, it became 2.1 trillion, 2.2, God knows what it is now. And then of late, we've been seeing things in the pension sector, in different sectors, people keeping 2 billion in their rooms and so on. What it tells you is that even from the time of the military, which many people like to blame, and say, oh, military were the ones that caused it. See, Nigerians, we like to blame dead people. Yeah? We don't want to take responsibility for ourselves. People don't even want to examine themselves and say, why is this so? An average person in Nigeria who's got a job, you are surviving a number of people. The same people who complain about corruption are the ones who encourage corruption. We don't even look around and look at the rhetoric on our streets. If you go to your religious houses and they're telling you this is your year to get rich or die trying, as if you were 50 cents, you know, then there's a problem. So when it's promoted in the religious houses, when it's promoted on the street, when it's promoted in our music, then we've got a problem. The value system of a country, you'll be able to tell the value system of a people or a country by looking at who they reward. Now, nobody will come and pick a poor me now and say, come and take a national award, but who gets the national award? So those are the problems. It's good for us to intellectualize the problem, therefore, so that we can actually face it head on, so that we can know the origin of where this problem is coming from, so that we can know how to curtail it. Because the approaches we have had so far is knee-jerk, and of course, due to our nature as a people, you know, we just want the solution and we want it now, and it's not going to happen now. You don't have a cancer and expect the problem to go now. You have a cancer, it takes a process.
So are you saying this pervasive corruption that we're seeing in the country should be based on colonialism?
Well, it's partly based on colonialism. It's largely based on the fact that we don't know ourselves. As documented in Michel Arong's book, equally in a place like Kenya, you know, the same problem is there. Just as I say, number one thing to note, number one, I say again, Nigerians are not corrupt. We will not say Nigerians are corrupt. Nigerians are not debased. Nigerians are not wicked by nature. In fact, we have some of the nicest people. Michelle Arong talks about her dad and her mom. Her dad is English, her mom is Italian. And in Italy, just like us, they have this Mediterranean culture. They don't trust government. But someone who can go out of their way to assist their brother, to assist their relative, to do a lot of things. Our dad, however, being English, believes totally in the government and would rather support the government's policy, but doesn't care about the next person next door. Now, you see, our culture is our culture. Now, the problem now is this: how do we ensure that the excesses of our culture is not affecting us as a people? If you're driving out of Abuja now, get to Zuba there, you see boys on the streets doing like this. And what are they saying? Are you going to spend? You can change your money into mint. And of course, we used to think that all these Owambe and all those kinds of things were based in the south of Nigeria. Now in the north of Nigeria, maybe save for the fact that Boko Haram is around now. Okay, so I mean, we have a scenario like that. People justify the fact that you have to spray money and spend money that you don't have. An average person who's got a job in Nigeria, maybe let's say you're in the ministry, grade level 10 or 12 or 14, you will spend 100,000 every weekend. Now, where do you get that money from? That's the point. So the thing is this: the culture puts us under pressure. We have not dealt with that culture.
Culture of social independence.
Well, would you call it social interdependence? You mean?
Yeah.
That's social interdependence. The fact that people want stuff from you, people will put you under pressure, and all that. Some of the corruption cases that have been tried in the past, I remember the time of James Ibori when he was tried in Nigeria, and by the time he was moved to prison, a whole detachment from his village came and said, "No, this is our man." That's the culture thing. It's our turn to eat. Okay, it's our turn to eat. Oh, yeah, when our man gets there, then all of us have to get paid now because we have to correct the injustices of the past, and so it becomes a vicious cycle thing until we have a more focused and a more intellectual and more integrated approach to the problem of corruption. What we're doing is just mere knee-jerk reactions.